A very good morning to everyone. On behalf of the organizing committee, I'd like to welcome everyone to the second day of the Faculty Development Program, Striving Together, Communication, Mental Wellness, and Collaborative Excellence in Higher Education. Organized by School of Applied Science and Humanities, Haldia Institute of Technology, in association with IQAC. And it gives me immense pleasure to announce that today we have amongst us a very esteemed guest, Professor Rajni Singh. Professor Rajni Singh is a professor of English in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences and serves as the Dean of Corporate Communications at the Indian Institute of Technology, ISM, Dhanbad. A distinguished academician and researcher, she has made significant contributions to the fields of English literature, literary theory, and communication studies. Professor Singh completed her BA honors in English in 1995, MA in English in 1997, and PhD in English in 2002 from Banaras Hindu University, securing first division in both her undergraduate and postgraduate studies. A doctoral research titled The Poetry and Plays of Alfred Lord Tennyson and T.S. Eliot, a comparative study, reflects her strong foundation in comparative literary scholarship. Her research interests encompass contemporary literary theory, contemporary Indian English fiction, literature of the Indian diaspora, gender studies, and professional communication. She has been actively engaged in teaching, research, academic leadership, and curriculum development, contributing to the advancement of humanities education in technical institutions. As an educator and administrator, Professor Singh is committed to promoting interdisciplinary learning, critical inquiry, and effective communication while mentoring students and scholars in their academic and professional pursuits. With this distinguished academic and professional background, it is now my honor and privilege to invite Professor Singh to deliver her lecture and share her valuable insights with us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Samya. Thank you so much. A very good morning to all of you. Just let me know if my slides are changing.
Yes, they're changing now. Absolutely fine.
Perfect. Okay. So we are here to talk about the language of encouragement, motivating students through everyday communication. Now, the point is, who needs encouragement here? That is, again, you know, a critical question. Do the faculty members also need some degree of encouragement, or this encouragement is to be, transmitted from the faculty onto the students? And if it is to be transmitted from the faculty onto the students, then definitely the faculty also needs to be pumped up with that, enthusiasm. When we look at language of encouragement, we'll deal with a bit of psychological theories today. But before moving on to the crux of all of it, I would like to, situate ourselves in the role of teachers. So what is our primary basic responsibility as teachers? We are the ones who are now who have just joined the academic, systems, the setups. For them and for the ones who have already navigated it through decades or several number of years, for them as well, even for me at this point, how do I look at myself, as a teacher situated in an academic space, and what are my roles and responsibilities? See, today, if you look at this MMTTP has been focusing a lot on academic leadership and why there's a need for academic leadership. Are we not the
Ma'am,
shapers of the...
sorry for the interruption. Ma'am, could you please
Yes.
switch on your video if it's
Oh,
possible?
yeah. 1 second. So when we talk about, yes, academic leadership, so if you look at the MMTTP programs, through that, lot of, emphasis has been laid out on how our teachers ought to be, what should be the academic environment like, because in a way that a greater responsibility rests on the shoulders of the faculty members. It's that every year there are thousands of students entering into the portals, into the portals of an institute, of an academic institute, graduating from there, and then building up the spaces wherever they go, be it in the industry, be it in the academia, be it anywhere, wherever they go. So and then these students, like from the transition from school to college to university to higher education is a big transition. So it's like the drill mode of teaching, where there's enough attention. The classroom setups are very, very different as compared to the classroom setups that we see in the higher education institutes. Uh, it ranges, or it varies from from one classroom to the other classroom, and the strength would really go up to even 400, 500 students in one shot. So that could also be like a scenario. So how do we look at our roles, and as leaders? So when we look at NEP 2020, what does it envision? It tries to envision, um, uh, you know, uh, mm, a point, a vantage point, which can transform our nation's sustainability into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society, and by providing quality education to all. Now, you see, right to education, the fundamental rights as laid down, in the Constitution, we all know about that. And they are, like people who have this, access to this right. But, equity turns out to be, so equality and and equity. These are two significant, components within this. So when we talk about equity, I mean, fine, people are, the students are getting graduated, in different nooks and corners of the country. But the point is that, are we imparting quality education to all? And what does that comprise? Does quality education only comprise the curriculum, the syllabus, the courses, and and what are the other things that go into it? So if you look at academic excellence again further, what are the significant components within academic? Before I want to set the premise to actually navigate through the topic. So when we look at academic excellence, I think this could have been in an interactive mode, but anyway, since the setup does not, encourage that, so I would just go in a monologic form. So five factors. I would say that there are five factors of academic excellence, and it's like a pyramid, So where you have where the tip of the pyramid is the focus on excellence. Today we talk about academic institutes need to meet a certain standard of excellence. Okay, need to demonstrate excellence in teaching, excellence in research, excellence in consultancy, R&D, industrializing, bringing in international students on campus. There are so many challenges, and if you look at the ones who are aware about the parameters that are involved in NIRF rankings and the QS rankings, we will also see that all of these ranking agencies also talk about excellence, and then the top rated institutes perhaps have demonstrated that degree of excellence, the desired degree of excellence. So excellence is just the tip, but what is at the base of this tip, that is very important. So the base of the so basically there are five components. First of all, an academic institute in its portal is the faculty, one of the strongest pillar. Next comes the funding part. Next comes the flexibility part. Then the freedom, and then comes the focus on excellence. So if you look at the base of the pyramid, there's like a lot of importance given to academic freedom. So there has to be an atmosphere of intellectual excitement. Now we will try connecting these ideas in our own way. So we will, through our own practices, whatever methods we have in our teaching processes in our institutes. And the institutes, again, not quite a homogeneous entity. So there are, I would at the outset, I would say that there are infrastructural challenges, there are challenges of many different kinds. Even the faculty, the quality of faculty recruitment, and all that. But funding, of course. So when we talk about what when we talk about academic excellence, what remains, what rests at the base of that pyramid is the academic freedom and atmosphere of intellectual excitement. And who brings this? Is it the responsibility of the administration? Does it come from outside, or the number of faculty members who are there? So academic, the intellectual excitement has to be, injected into that, academic environment through the faculty. The faculty plays a very significant role here. Again, the next part is the adequate funding. Now, you see, normally we see that, the next layer of the pyramid, the next layer of the pyramid is the adequate funding. Now, you see, when we look at our roles as teachers, many a times, and if you look at the conventional, uh, you know, um, patterns, when we look at those patterns, it's like, a teacher to teach, but actually a teacher to research as well, right? So academic institutes also need to, do good R&D. And again, you see, again, should then the faculty be only, doing, bringing, the R&D projects only in as individual projects, or it should be a team based, and again, further, what is the scope of integrating the students, in taking the students, accommodating the students into that, R&D, R&D activities? Is there possibility of doing that as well? And here comes in the language of encouragement. We'll talk about that one by one. So how do we, you see, we as, higher educational institutes in the country, and particularly there's the technical institutes, the engineering institutes, there's a lot of, like, expectations onto us as well, that how do we, alongside doing, good research, good teaching, also, train our students, upskill them in a way that, they are ready for job. So how do we do that? How do we bring in, a curiosity of a lifetime? You see, if you look at the websites of the foreign universities, they will have these, catchy phrases. But then these phrases, these catchy phrases, are actually practiced as well. So curiosity of a lifetime. Now, how do we build in that? How do we inject that curiosity of a lifetime within myself as a new faculty? Do I have the environment? The new department that I get into, the new institute that I get into? What are the conditions that I'm situated in, and how do I motivate myself, to really, pursue my academic journey, my professional journey as a researcher, as a teacher? Yes. And again, it is like, again, then the favorable working conditions. So we also have the favorable working conditions and the adequate facilities. So with all these, ideas in mind, we will move on to the language of encouragement, motivation, and effective communication. Now,
Huh?
this particular presentation, yes, is there some confusion? Hello, is it fine?
Dr. Jyoti, please mute
Yes,
yourself.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It's okay, no?
Yes, I did. I did. Sorry, sorry.
Okay, okay. So, one second. Huh. So when we look at this understanding, so in this presentation, we will look into the psychological basis of encouraging communication, the educational theories that have supported, motivational language. Then we'll identify the communication patterns that promote or hinder learning, and we'll apply, some practical strategies to encourage students through daily interactions, and also build, classrooms that foster confidence, participation, and resilience. So if I have to ask you a quick question, and anyone can respond, do you have a do you have your own, like, any memory of you being a student at the school level, or at the higher educational, in the university? So do you have your own experiences? You see, we all have our own experiences, pleasant, good, or bad. And sometimes, the pleasant experiences really, converge into a win-win, but the unpleasant experiences, somewhere, turn out to be a kind of limitation, stopping us from advancing. So we all have our experiences of it's a mix of both kinds of experiences that we all have. Now, why language matters? Language. If I look at language from the perspective of a faculty of communication, skills, I would say that definitely language matters, and the way you communicate with your students within the classroom and within that academic setup, how do you communicate with your colleagues, with your students, that should that matters a lot, and that is very transformative. So the tonality, the positiveness in communication, and all of that makes a difference. Now imagine, you see, we are in the beginning of the academic session, and we are going to have the new students. Now the young graduates, they come to any institute with certain degree of expectations. What do they look at? There are two or three things that they look at. One is the placement, of course, which is there at the back of their mind, but the other thing is that how they would be encouraged for innovation, incubation. Can they be like provided a conducive environment there where they can tinker, where they can do some kind of a problem solving. And we have seen, you see, I'll tell you, I'll bring some concrete practical examples also. Despite the tinkering laboratories that we have in the institutes, how many students really we are able to persuade them and bring them to these tinkering laboratories. So somewhere or the other, if you look at the practical aspect of it, definitely apart from teaching, it's like where we are always, our focus is more towards like completing the course, completing the course within the stipulated time period. And then it's like somewhere or the other, we are not quite motivated to bring our students. That extra bit of motivation is lacking from our ends, from our end as well, which actually hinders the students to actually to be brought to these to the R&D activities. So communication is not merely the transmission of information. It is also it also communicates what expectations. Now whose expectations? I as a faculty, my expectations for myself in my journey. What do I want to do? What are the things that what are my goal settings? Okay, what are the objectives that I need to accomplish within a given period of time? Is it just for the sake of promotions from one pay level to the other pay level and so on? And what is it like? So what, whose expectations? So my expectations as an individual, and then again my expectations from my students, so the expectations. So communication plays a pivotal role in in translating those set of expectations onto the right target audience. So the target audience would be our students. Then respect, of course, trust, empathy, confidence, and the sense of belongingness. Now you see, I'll go into the practical aspects, because we have been dabbling with all the the day-to-day events of any institute. So if you look at the alumni database, and this can be a question posited to you as well. We all have a rich alumni database. This keeps adding on year after year. Okay, but the moment the student graduates, there are how many students, how many graduates who really come back to the department, really to contribute to the department, to for in any form, maybe in the form of some kind of donations, funding, some kind of interactions for some lectures. Or so if you ask the departments, like when I was holding this corporate communications position as the dean corporate communications, I had to work on the database of the alumni. Now we are 100 years old institute, but if you look at the alumni database, it's still it's a very skewed database. It's hardly of 45,000 alumni which is there in our database. Now the point is, when I went to the departments, the departments when asked that who are your best, if you have to talk about your 10-star alumni in the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever, one decade, let's say, can you name? And then it's like there's a big question. Okay, So they do not get this, as if you have asked, something very different, out of the question paper, so out of the syllabus question. So it's they do not have the names. So when we talk about the sense of belongingness, whose responsibility it is to develop that sense of belongingness in the students, and to to tap this rich resources for the development of the department, and for the development of the institute as a whole. So we are going to talk about all of these aspects together. You see, when we talk to our graduates also, they want to really come back. Okay, the sense of belongingness is missing. So you see, when our students are there with us for the last, for 4 years, 5 years, depending on the programs that they are into, why do we fail in instilling them that sense of belongingness? So that connection, how do we develop that connection? And here language plays an important role. So if you look at the practical aspects of any department, the HODs, they change on a periodic basis, 3 years. So in his time he will work on something, for the department. In the others, tenure, he will focus on something. But the centrality of the issue is that how do the departments turn out to be self sufficient, self efficient departments in terms of funding, in terms of the rich resource or knowledge pool. So here there is a gap, and it's our responsibility to establish that sense of belongingness again in our students. But how do we do that? So again, communication matters. So uh, we'll talk about that in the successive slides. Now, every statement which is made by the teacher sends, two messages: what the student has done, and what the teacher believes about the student. You see, we have to just, stop at these lines. They're not, they're not, these appear very simple. The slides, do carry, very simple, ideas. But then these have, some, like grave, like issues, embedded into it. So what the student has done, what the teacher believes about the student. So we as teachers, the way we practice our methodologies in teaching, our approaches to connecting with the students, matters a lot. Students continuously interpret these messages and form beliefs about themselves. You see, this is so true in the case of the students, who are at the school level, okay, at the primary level, middle school, and high secondary. But at the university level, the kind of students that we deal with, so they have already formed beliefs about them. And if the teacher has not been efficient enough in connecting with the students in terms of his teaching, her teaching, in terms of building a tie with the student, it turns out to be difficult. Now the other question would be that in a class size of 300, 400, or maybe 150 or 100 students, how do we build that bond? So again, this is a pivotal point. Maybe towards the end we can have a discussion on this. Now, research in educational psychology shows that positive teacher communication influences what? Academic achievement. Now, whose achievement? This is again a pivotal question. So, whose achievement we are talking about? The achievement of the student or the faculty? To me, it is like the achievement of both. You see, every student that graduates, through by taking your courses, by taking our courses, turns out to be our brand ambassador. And I can see one of my, Soumya, I see him as a brand ambassador of ITISM Dhanbad. So that way, so how do you connect and how do you instill those values again in your? So this is an academic achievement. You see, any student who's graduated and has gone for a master's abroad, after 5 years, 6 years, 8 years later, he just writes a mail to you saying that out of the many courses that I took, yours was the best, and this has been really very helpful and valuable to me, because I never thought about communication could be so significant a component in my day to day, like activities. Recently, I can give you just one example. So where do we like experience these achievements in our day to day. Of course, on paper, on a CV, we are building up these many projects, these many courses, these many new program, new courses that I'm offering for the academic year, and the pointers that we get against those are, like secondary things. But again, the real achievement or the dividend, that we get is from our students. So I can just let you know one example. A 2000 recently, it was last month, a 2019 graduate, a petroleum engineering graduate. He just came to me. It was some event, somebody had come, and this person was also there. I couldn't, recollect who he was. He came to me and he said, "Ma'am, I'm Aditya. I was your student, and I'm the SDM of Devghar now. And whenever you wish to visit that place, you can always give me a ring, and I'll see that you get your this I'll take care of your visit." So academic achievement of the student, converges into the achievement of the faculty. Now, student engagement, you see, these students, they are with us, as I already said. Now, I'll also focus on the research scholars, the research scholars, and the research scholars are there with us for 4 years, 5 years. It's not just the BTech students alone. How do we engage our BTech students? You see, we have, heavy machineries, we have the facilities for tinkering and innovation, but what is the percentage of students, really, coming down to these tinkering laboratories and, dabbling with these ideas? There are how many? What is that percentage? And is it not, a waste of resources? We need to look into that. How do we build up on these? So it is our responsibility. You see, I can give you one data. IIT, and I'll put this on record also. Recently, we had this professor from the director from IIT Madras, and he was talking about the patent filing. You see, when we talk about a patent filing in a technical institute like ours, these are very important, and we get points for the NIRF as well as for the other ranking agencies that we participate in. So patent is one, and there's always, a big, this thing. So either a researcher or either a student who is in his, some project, the PG project dissertation, or a UG student with his, last semester, some project assignment, something with that department, with that professor. How is he like getting that? How do we motivate that student to really complete the project in a way that it is in a stage ready to file? So and the more patents, the more filing is done, not all the filing would immediately breed in results. So it will take years for those to get published. It may get published sooner, it may take years to get published, and then again finally taking it to another level of commercialization. But that is again a very difficult another level. So filing turns out to be very important. So when we were looking at our own data, we did not see that a lot of filing happening in our institute. Now, when this IT Madras director, he said that on an average, you see the faculty strength across the institutes, roughly 400 to 500 to 600. This is what the faculty strength would be. In some institutes it would be lesser than that. Okay. Now, the average patent filing, of IT Madras per day is roughly, close to three filing per day, with that, limited number of faculty. Now you see 500, 600 faculty members. So what is it that all the research is being done just by the faculty alone? Or is it also like, a team which is working, so a team, and you're, in a setup like ours, this team has to incorporate the students. It has to to take the students into consideration. Otherwise we cannot raise ourselves to that massive level. So the student engagement turns out to be very important. And how do we encourage? I can just give you one example. So the tinkering, there was this alumni who had funded heavily to the institute, but the tinkering laboratory was not able to to optimize that advantage, the benefit of that. So it was like when we got this new dean, innovation and incubation, he then started with many such initiatives where it was like problem solving. So some 100 problem statements, some incentive to the students, and maximizing it, taking it across, disciplines and departments, and, bringing the students. So now that we have, really roughly some, 500 students, involved. Otherwise, there were hardly 10 or 12 students or 15 students from the BTech. I'm talking about the BTech students. So the BTech lot is again an important lot for us. So apart from the PG, you see the PG students and the PhD students, they're already mature and they know what their focus is. But like encouraging the BTech students also to come and to work, that is significant. Now, self confidence. So how do we instill that self confidence? And all of this happens through communication. So you see, if I'll just talk about the website. Now you see, website is again, you have so many, third parties, and we can outsource the third parties to build up the website. But why not, to take the talent pool which is already with us? Why not to take the talent pool for creating, certain apps, for building up the website? And we did it uh, in our case. We took the BTech students, and it was a paid internship. And then it's like, a batch by batch. It's like we are getting, the new set of students for this. So again, so how do we tap that talent pool? And what you see, sometimes it is communication. And how do you communicate those ideas clearly to the students? What is the message that you're communicating turns out to be important. And alongside, you see, because it's quite important that apart from the certificate and other things, what are the small, incentives that we can offer to them? So classroom participation, as I already said, how do we, make the classrooms vibrant? Again, in a class of 110, 115, 120, how do we make the classrooms more engaging? Then persistence during difficulties. Thus, encouraging language becomes an instructional strategy rather than simply good manners. So it is an important facet. Now, if we look at we'll go one by one to the social theorists. So Albert Bandura's, social learning theory and self efficacy. So Bandura is an American, psychologist. And Bandura proposed that people develop confidence through successful experiences, observation, encouragement, and emotional support. The concept of self efficacy refers to a student's belief in their ability to succeed. Teacher language directly influences that self efficacy. Now you see, many a times, we can all, we all have these examples in our mind. Let's take for example, normally it is said, normally the conception is such that, the understanding is such that, the students coming to the so called, IITs and so on, the students, particularly I'm talking about the BTech student, I'm talking about the PhD students, or maybe the MTech students, would be, you all get, far good students as compared to my institute or this institute or that institute. So this is a general, idea. But let me just, give you a very candid response to this. These students are graduating from a system which is common to everybody. So these, the students who come to the PhD, come for the PhD program, or the students who come for the master's program, they are graduating from the same spaces, from the same academic, from a similar kind of a setup. And it's just that, the degree of, filtering would be little, like severe as compared to the others. But again, it's just, it's the product is from the same pool. So it's not that, we get, more meritorious students as compared to the others. Now if you look at the journey of any of these, the PG students or the PhD students, what they come as and how they get trained, how they get molded, that turns out to be important. Even the best could be, if not, being trained properly, could lead to, could lead to a failure. So it is how, here this, the so here the teacher language directly, influences self efficacy. How do we encourage, our students who are with us to really to get into their work, to be focused, and to carry out the research, the activity for which they are here? So it is like always, approaching them with a purposive, with a purposive idea. So what is that? Why I'm here? Why you are here? And what is the objective of two of us to be here. Uh, and how do you pursue your goals in the process? Now, Bandura social learning theory talks about discouraging statements. So you see, these are like, and these are just, very basic examples. You're weak in mathematics, so I can give you an example like, oh no, you couldn't interpret your text, you're very poor at writing. Okay. You cannot write, your sentences clearly, or your structures are so bad. Now, sometimes this could be really, like, pushing the student, behind. So sometimes it may lead to a kind of pressure that the student may really work on these, on the weaknesses and perform. But in most of the cases, it is seen that the I mean, if the approach is really very harsh and stringent and negative, it leads it puts them at a back seat. So the student begins believing that mathematics is beyond their ability. So this is something we all have experienced and we all know about it. Encouraging statement: you solved the first part correctly, but however there are some issues with it. Let's work together on the next step. So here there's a degree of confidence. So yes, you have read your text, but perhaps you're not able to interpret it properly. So just go back and see what are the key words, what are the key ideas, and how you're going to get into it. Now, a student repeatedly struggles. So I've brought in some examples. A student repeatedly struggles with programming assignments. Instead of saying you don't understand coding, if you say you have understood the logic, now let's improve the syntax together. That that actually opens up a possibility for improvement. Now, we have another. So, Carol Dweck's, growth mindset. Now, Carol distinguishes between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. So Carol is an American psychologist and is known for her work on motivation and mindsets. And she makes a reference. She actually refers to an incident. When she was in standard sixth in sixth grade, where she studied in Brooklyn, New York. She was made to sit in the order of IQ. So if we also recollect, in our school days, there were different like seating arrangements. Sometimes it would be on the basis of the IQ, the best student in the front or the weak student in the front. So again, we do not practice all of this in our setup, but what she's talking about, that how these, mindsets actually, delimits the possibilities for, expansion and growth. So, fixed mindset and growth mindset, and students with a fixed mindset believe intelligence is permanent. So intelligence is permanent, is like static, and only the ones who are intelligent will always be intelligent, and I do not have the scope of that. So again, so this is you see, when we get the preparatory students, they're all coming through a lot of like rigorous hard work and all that, but just that, some students did not, get good, like scores. They couldn't get good ranks, and therefore, now that they have been, under certain uh, you know uh, uh, you know um, you know um, circumstances, they are put into that. So again, you see, when we interact with the preparatory students, of course, I mean, so there's a kind of, when they, because you see, it's human nature to compare, and then, it's like, that we are perhaps lagging in something, what others have. So but when these students, get integrated with the the regular BTech students, then, this just, goes away. This idea of, like, the diffidence, vanishes. But in a classroom setup, we also come across, students who struggle with their, diffidence. So the teacher language determines which mindset develops. Fixed mindset languages, you're naturally intelligent, so here the student becomes afraid of failure. And the growth mindset says, a language says, I appreciate the effort you invested, you used a better strategy, you improved compared to your previous work, and the emphasis shifts from talent to learning. So there are, so how do we, you see, so here, how do we communicate with our students? Many a times we have seen, in front of us, we come across examples. Oh, you are so bad in your, what scores you have got. You are not even, fit enough to be in a course like this, in a program like this. So there are statements of this kind. So somewhere, there's so the student, develops a sense of detachment, not from the prof, but also from the course itself. So we have to be careful about this. So instead of saying you're the smartest students, you demonstrated persistence while solving this problem. So this encourages continuous learning. Now we have another, 20th century Russian, Soviet psychologist. So Lev, what he talks about the proximal development. So he argues that students learn best with appropriate support, and the support is known as the scaffolding. So we are building up the scaffolding, on which the student is going to, is going to stand. That is the base. The scaffolding is the base for him to grow. So teacher communication functions as a scaffolding, and examples include asking guiding questions, providing hints, encouraging attempts, reducing the anxiety. Now, we'll come to the fundamental, challenges also of our classroom setups. We'll have a quick interaction after this, and I'll be happy to take your questions as well. So instead of giving the answers, immediately ask, what do you think should happen next? Students remain active participants in learning. Encouraging language helps students progress independently. Now, you see, there's also, one more very important thing in our classroom setups, that, the teacher as the absolute authority, as the authority of knowledge. So you see, when we look at when in an age, in a digital age, when knowledge is seeping from various sources, it's flowing from various sources. It cannot be the question of the ultimate knowledge, of the ultimate, is challenged. And at the same time, if you look at still, but it's like one on many, and then what I say and what I have, what steps I have, like shown, you have to follow that. So whatever steps or whatever formula or whatever ways in which I want the ways in which I want the answer from you, that has to be, like, so there's certain expectations. But you see, I can give you one example. Institutes, some the here the setup is very different, but in some institutes, even with the faculty members also, leaving it open, giving that academic freedom for the student, to think in an unconventional way, and but to arrive at the proper, ideas. So giving them the freedom and the liberty, rather than, being a dictate. So we have Carl Rogers, humanistic theory. Now, what does this talk about? He emphasized on empathy, acceptance, and the positive regard. Now, students perform better when they feel psychologically safe. So faculty members need to create emotional safety through respectful communication. So again, we know about Carl Rogers. He's the founder of the humanistic psychology, and he talks about this, that every individual, exists in a continually changing world of experience, of which they are at the center. And it is essential for us to to demonstrate or to emphasize on the three important aspects. One is empathy, acceptance, and the positive regard. So faculty members create emotional safety through respectful communication. Examples are, I appreciate your opinion, thank you for sharing. That's an interesting perspective. So demonstrating, positivity in our communication is very important. Students become willing to participate without fear of embarrassment in a situation like this. Now, the second one, the next one is self-determination theory. What does this talk about? It talks about, motivation through the innate tendencies towards, growth, and the innate, psychological needs. So it focuses on the degree to which the human behavior is self-motivated and self-determined. So first of all, the external, factors need to work. That external, encouragement need to work in order to help the other to get, self-determined about, or self-motivated about his objectives. Now, autonomy. So the students need choice, and the teacher language is like, you may choose either presentation or report. The competence. So he focuses on the three important Deci and Ryan. They focus on three important aspects: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So giving freedom. I talked about that academic freedom. This academic freedom is not just restricted to students, but it is also important for essential for the faculty members, providing the academic freedom. You see, I can give you one example. Despite the different courses that the faculty members have already been offering to the students in the different programs, if a new faculty enters, comes to the institute, now normally what is the tradition? The pattern is such that, okay, so this is a course. Now you are here for this program. You are here in this department, so this is the course that I'm taking, and you can also like take this in the next semester. But here we have changed it slightly. So this was a suggestion from our director's end, that fine, apart from what the department offers. So of course, the recruitment of a faculty takes place on the basis of the departmental need to teach certain courses. But at the same time, there's another development to this, that the director said that, apart from the departmental needs, let the faculty also, because the faculty would come with his own area of specialization or expertise. So let there be an academic freedom given to the faculty to offer a new course, okay, to the students from his own research interest or research domain. So that academic freedom, and that actually, that motivates the faculty also, to perform in a better way, to perform in a better way. The faculty motivation for faculty and motivation for that freedom for the student is also important. So the teacher language could be, you may choose either presentation or report, whatever. I mean, these are just examples. So giving them the freedom, to, you see, I can give you one example. So it's like, in one of the universities abroad, and I closely know this student. So instead of, so you have what, it's like, teacher, it's more like a teacher centric approach. So the teacher, like, says that this is the thing which I want from the students. So the expectations of the teachers, of the teacher from the student. But over there, it's just I mean, the expectations are there, but then there's a complete, reversal, in terms of the performance. So the student is giving, 10 papers, 20 papers. Okay, now this is the thing, you go and read, and it's not just restricted to 10 papers or 20 papers. You have this, area that you're going to make a presentation on. Take your time, and you refer to the sources, okay, but then come back with your presentation. And you're not only going to make a presentation, a PowerPoint, but also try to make a short video of your presentation, and put it. So how creatively, in a 2 minutes video, or a 5 minutes video, how creatively, you're going to present your ideas or thought, that turns out to be important. See, this morning I was having one of my, researchers pre-submission seminar. Now this researcher has worked on the American, trans narratives in comics, okay, in comic form, in the comic genre. Now, you see, despite, I'm just giving you an example, and this can be an example, this can be a case, common to many of us, okay. Now, you see, the thesis which navigates into 5 chapters, okay, and the thesis which has to be like this, presented in the form of a presentation, a PPT, and what are the requirements, and how concise and how brief it has to be. It has to be made clear to the student. But again, that freedom has to be given to the student. Many a times the students do not, because they haven't got that training enough, to think that way. They work in a more traditional way, and enumerating chapter one, and the slides going up to 60 slides, or 70 slides, or maybe 90 slides. I've seen even 90 slides. So in some of the cases, not in this department, but in many such cases where we go for the evaluation. So so we have to also, intervene, but at the same time, that freedom has to be given. Now, competent student needs confidence, and you are improving. So these, small little, you are improving is actually such a such a miracle, expression, such a miracle, say statement for for a student, for the student who is really struggling to really, to proceed with his or her work. Now, relatedness, student need a connection. Now, how do you develop? You see this mutuality or bonding or connection or coming back to the campus, okay, as an alumnus. How you see in the process, how do we interact with our students? Turns important. So students need that connection, and I'm glad you answered that question. So it could be, it could be a connection, in a connection which is established for a certain purpose, and a connection, I mean, which is in general over a period of time. Sorry. So when these needs are fulfilled, the intrinsic motivation increases significantly. I'll just take some water. Now the next one is the Pygmalion effect. Now, one second. The Pygmalion effect is a psychological phenomenon in which high expectations lead to improved performance in a given area. And if you look at the Pygmalion, the sculptor, okay, who fell in love with a perfectly beautiful, statue that he created. So sometimes it's like, like building up the pressure, setting up the ideal, and, trying to encourage the students to come up to that level. So this is also again a significant, way to encourage the students. So high expectations often produce high performance, low expectation often reduce achievement. Now, teacher says, I know this class can solve difficult problems, and teacher B says this batch is weak. The students unconsciously perform according to expectations. Positive expectations become self fulfilling. Now, encouragement versus praise. Now, many educators use these terms interchangeably. However, they are different. So, praise focuses on the person that you're brilliant, you're talented, but encouragement focuses on the small steps that one is taking in the process of his development, in the course of his journey as a student, as a researcher. So you work consistently, you didn't give up, you improved after the feedback and so on. So encouragement develops resilience, praise sometimes creates fear of failure. Now, everyday encouraging language, instead of no, let's say, let's think of another possibility. Of course, saying no is also important, but again, when you have these, who are still in the process of becoming, you see, these students who come to us, they range in an age group of what? They range in an age group of, 19, or let's say, 20 to at the most, if we take the PhD students, at the most, 30, 31, 32. So they're in the process of becoming. So let's think of another possibility. So here our communication, our touch, our shaping turns significant. Instead of from say interesting attempt, let's examine it together. Instead of you don't understand, let's approach it differently. Instead of who knows the answer, take a minute to think before sharing. So these small changes produce large motivational efforts. And there are many such ways. I mean, these are not just the only. So we all know what are the different ways to it. Now, the classroom scenario, a student gives an incorrect answer, and the negative response is, no, no, that's very wrong. Sit down. And the positive response could be that a thoughtful attempt, but however, it doesn't lead to the ideal, conclusion or the idea. So you need to again, rethink on it. Go back and rethink on it. Scenario two, late assignment submission. You are responsible. You have not submitted. You're irregular to the classroom, this and that. I noticed the delay. What challenges did you face? Why you're not coming to the class these days? What happened to you? What are you doing? Are you paying more attention to something else? And so on. So tracking. So tracking these lags also. And then scenario three, weak presentation. So negative response is poor presentation. Encouraging responses, your ideas were clear. Next time, work on eye contact and voice projection and other things. So specific feedback promotes improvement. What are the encouraging questions? So encouraging questions are like, replace, why didn't you study? What strategy will help you prepare better next time? And replace, why you're always late? What help you? What can help you to arrive on time. So solution focused questions encourage responsibility. Now, again, the non-verbal communication, again, this also plays a pivotal role. So, how do we maintain eye contact, our body language, nodding, posture, listening, lending an ear? That's very important. So, research suggests that much communication occurs through the non-verbal behavior, and students do notice it. So, even whether we are aware of it or not, but students are noticing our non-verbal, gestures as well. So students easily recognize whether encouragement is genuine or not. Now, creating an encouraging classroom culture. Now, faculty members can learn this, this is appreciate improvement, encourage questions, allow mistakes, provide constructive feedback. You see, learning name, so it's like sometimes, a student comes back to you and then you have remembered the student and then you say, oh, yes, Shubham, so I know. And then the student, says, oh, you remember my name, and that's how the connect, goes. I know that there's so in a big classroom setup, it's very difficult, but somehow to some extent if we can establish that connect. So celebrate small achievements, maintain respectful communication, promote peer encouragement, and these practices increase engagement and belongingness. So the habits that we bring into our workspaces, is really significant in building our own image as well. So we have to this is something that needs to be focused on. Now, faculty reflection activity, we can look at it, like you are careless becomes, I know you can improve accuracy by reviewing your work once more. You failed becomes, you have identified areas that need more practice. So this demonstrates that encouragement is a learnable skill. Now, what are the challenges that the faculty face often? So the large classrooms, the time constraints, the administrative responsibilities, diverse learners, and the pressure of completing, rushing with the courses. Despite these challenges, encouraging communication, it doesn't take much. It's just being thoughtful about what we are saying, the thoughtful choices of words rather than additional resources. So every interaction becomes an opportunity to motivate. What are the 5 C's of encouraging communication? So connect with the students, care through empathy, challenge with high expectations, celebrate effort, and coach for continuous improvement. And I'm now with this, I'm open to interaction.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this enriching elaboration. And now the forum is open for questions. Participants are requested to unmute and ask their questions. Ma'am, may I ask one question?
Yes.
Ma'am, it's like when students face academic burnout or persistent self-doubt, direct praise or encouragement can sometimes feel superficial to them. Now, how can faculty shift from transactional praise to language that genuinely helps students develop internal self-efficacy and resilience?
You see, there cannot be a ready instant answer, So if a student is in self-doubt, right, and is unable to perform due to that, right? And which student is this? He's from the UG program, from the PG program, or the PhD program. So we cannot, group the students together, because you see if the student is a UG student, okay, in the case of a UG student, and if he's struggling with some self doubts, okay, and he's not able to perform, it's just that many a times we have offered in our communication skills courses, right? If it is a doubt related to a particular segment of the module or the syllabus, then that's another thing. So there you can have a remedial, and you can, in the evening, you can call the student, ask him that what is it where you are struggling with. But if it is related to one's own, like ability to perform in general for the UG student, okay, so just helping him, trying to understand, and perhaps, you have, if the teacher, because you see, this is a very uh, you know uh, uh, you know uh, uh, a problem, where it's sometimes, it's difficult because of paucity of time and other things. The faculty may not pay adequate attention to it. If it is a temporal issue, self doubt is a temporal issue, that can be sorted out through communication. So the faculty, the head of the department, the teacher who is teaching the course can always, like, talk to the student and sort it out. But if it is a
Right. We
parent,
also have a mentoring process through which it can be solved as well.
yeah, but if it is a perennial problem, in that case, if it is a perennial problem, then in that case, there are, counselors on campus, and we can take them to the counselor.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
coming to the PG and to the PhD students, if there is a degree of doubt and other things, again, it's a one-on-one communication, and I believe that the supervisor, or in the case of the PG students, because of the lesser, size of the classroom, the faculty can always, interact and figure out what are the issues. So talking and coming out to, we have, it's not that we have not. We have helped our students in vivid ways, in many ways, at many points. Okay, and then numerous, examples that one can, bring to the floor, to talk about it. So I think establishing a dialogue is very important. A dialogue is very important. And you see, Soumya, I'll tell you, why there's a need, now ITs are coming up with, the well-being center for well-being, center for mindfulness, centers for, there you have deans now, the dean well-being, dean, the associate dean, well-being, and so on. We are now opening up with these positions. So if
Yes, yes. I
we
have
can,
even participated in
really
a
do a hand holding, yes.
yes, I have even participated in a conference in I am Bodhgaya regarding this only.
Yes.
And mindfulness has become such a used and abused in today's academic world.
Yes. Yes, that is also true.
Ma'am, I have one more
Sir,
question.
Yes.
excuse, excuse me, sir. Am I
Yes, yes,
audible?
please. Yes,
Yes,
yes, please,
you're
sir.
audible.
Yeah. I have
Okay.
put a question on the chat box. I am Adrenal. Ma'am, I just want to ask you, we were talking about this Pygmalion
Did
effect.
Okay, what is the question? Can you read it out?
Yeah, can
Let
the
me
Pygmalion
answer.
effect produce negative consequences sometimes?
Can
This effect, Pygmalion effect, which you're talking about, can that produce negative consequences sometimes?
negative consequences?
Yes, yes, yes.
In what sense you want to say?
Like you said that when you are aspiring some students, when you're motivating some students, they actually perform more than the desired, as you said, that whenever we are when you are talking to the students, we are positively motivating them, their outcome is more than actually overperform. I'm saying that whenever you are actually criticizing someone, there's a performance level. If you're criticizing someone, then is that the opposite way around, they can underperform too?
There could be a possibility. You see, there could be a possibility, but you see, it is not just at one instance, you make a statement, and that turns out to be something which is really, going to affect their performance. No, over a period of time, with consistency, if this happens, then definitely it is going to. Sometimes we make just, randomly, we make a statement. Okay, this could be like, we may draw comparative, strokes, and we would say that, looks, he's got a publication, but you haven't. Okay, so this could be encouraging, also building up pressure on them. But if this goes on in continuity, and then this turns out to be, like, then it turns out to be, in a way stigmatizing, then it may lead to a fall in his or her performance.
Okay, okay, thank you, ma'am, thank you so much.
Is there any other question? Ma'am, may I ask one more question?
Yes.
I mean, it's like Gen Z and younger cohorts often process teacher-student communication through different, cultural and digital lenses than the previous generations.
Hmm.
Now, have you observed any specific shift in how modern students perceive encouraging language, or are there phrases or approaches that might even backfire?
Okay, good question. Now, you see, when you talk about this generation gap, okay, you have Gen Z, then you have Gen Alpha, then Beta would come in and all that, the new, names that we have for this, right? We are all dealing with the Gen Z students in our classroom, right? So the ones born after 1990s, right? Um, it's like the older generation and this generation. I think, if you look at the focus of the students, the Gen Z students today is quite, they're very clear. You see, if you had I asked, this question to you or to anybody, or to myself, that what is my goal of life, then way back, 25, 30 years back, if I would have, it was like, okay, want to do something, but not clear. Okay. But this generation is very clear. Okay. And they very well know. You see, we have then they know their teachers, they know their faculty members, how good they are, how best they are, who is delivering in what way, they know. And if they and because they are also aware of their ambition, they are also aware of what they want to do in life, where they want to reach in the next 5 years. So they're very clear about this. So they take those steps toward in that direction. If they are not able to actually, uh, if they are not satisfied with let's say a professor X, he definitely they would try to look for that for that for that professors courses from some other source. So they're very clear, and the one, because they are clear, they are focused, they know what they are here to do. Many of them, majority of them, let me put it, 90% of them are very clear in their approaches. And because they're clear in their approaches, they are focused, and from whatever sources they get the right encouragement, they're receptive to it. So they receive it also. So this is the difference. This is the difference. So this generation is very much aware. They are also receptive because they know that this is the way through which they can, uh, this may aid them, okay, in reaching their, you know, uh, uh, you know, desired goal, whatever.
Yes, they're very particular about their goal and specific about their
Yeah,
approaches.
yeah, yeah. They are. And you see,
Yes,
because you see, this generation is also like, drawing information from various sources. It's not,
right.
you see, the one who is coming, you see, I can give you one example. You know, a BTech student, a prospective student who wants to, choose a college today, okay, will already have enough sufficient information about, which college he would like to go and buy.
Yes.
Okay. So he's so informed. And the first question, see, on 27th, on 26th, we are going to have our induction, right? For the BTech students. The basic question that is asked in the induction program is that, what is the package for CSA? Even
Exactly. Right.
the open house that we organized, in the month of, in the beginning of June. So that is, what is the future of, my, of me pursuing, electrical engineering in your institute, and what is the package? Can I, and what if I pursue engineering physics, so what research, how grounded is your laboratory, and what could be the possibilities of doing an MTech and PhD in your department, or should I, so how do you connect? So what are the universities, foreign universities with which you have signed MOU? So is there some exchange program? So they are so informed, and they're
Yes,
very clear.
informed and focused.
They know what they are here for.
Right.
And if they get the right, like motivation and responses, And remember, we are handling the best lots. We are handling the lots which are quite aware about where they want to go. So even if it is, from a remote region, believe me, we get, we conduct a lot of certification programs under this, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana as well, certification programs for the rural, like the polytechnic students and the ones who are
Mhm.
working in in the remote colleges. For them also, they know. It is just that they feel that there are certain skill sets that they miss, and therefore they are here. So I mean, there's 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 a hunger, there's a desire, and they're here to satiate that. So if they're here to satiate that with us for the 4 years that they are with us, for the 5 years that they are with us, we have to understand how do we keep encouraging these students, so that we can get the optimum from them, and we can make them more prepared and ready for the world.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other question from the end of the participants?
Yes, Soumya, I have one question, if that's okay, if I can ask.
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful, session. And we have obviously talked about constructive feedback, positive mindset, building with students. But here is my concern that I would really like to know. When it comes to departmental internal handling, how do we make
Departmental,
sure,
say again, sorry.
within the
Back.
departments itself, when we talk about the conversation and the communication within the department, sometimes it
Ah,
really goes haywire, right? Um, so, what are the parameters for somebody on a senior position like HOD to make sure or set certain rules or
what are the
regulations when it comes
parameters
to
for? Say,
communication?
come back again. Yeah.
What should be some set of communications rules or regulations from an HOD perspective that they can implement within the infrastructure of
Are
departments?
you the head of the department?
No, no, not yet.
Okay. So once you step into the shoes of the head, you will understand how difficult is the headship,
It is,
So
it is.
administrative assignments are very, very difficult to handle. See, the problem is that we are dealing with a set of intellectuals, okay? And dealing with the general public is still okay, but dealing with a set of intellectuals is actually a challenging task.
Which
The
is why I
problem
came to
with,
you.
and since this is an online, and I wouldn't mince a single word saying this, that we are bloated with our intellectual egos, right? So we feel that this is my domain, I'm the best, I'm superior. The point is that despite you being the best, then again it has to be quantified in terms of the performance. So, okay, in R&D, in terms of projects, in terms of industry licensing, in terms of consultancy, in terms of patents, in terms of publication, but that doesn't happen. That
Yeah.
doesn't get reflected. But then they're bloated egos. Okay. So the point is that it's very difficult, like dealing with people, because again I feel that as compared to the academia in the West, we still have to learn to, I don't know. And the as far as the head is concerned, it's like the head cannot bring out some rules and try to bell the cat. It can't be, because tomorrow he has to be there among the same folk,
Right,
the
right.
different folks. So again it's like very difficult for the head to handle. In meetings, you see, differences in opinion is always I mean, if you have multiple opinions, multiple viewpoints, it is good, and it helps it helps in a constructive discussion. Okay. But then these discussions need to converge into the desired end goal. That is very important, rather than messing up with the whole thing. So it has to be dialogic, multiple viewpoints. Always bring always they have their own uniqueness. So it can be just a univocal polyphonic, okay, expression. So it has to be like multivocal ideas should come in. and it is good for any academic department, for an institute as a whole. But at the same time, not all like ideas can really be taken as it is. So somewhere or the other there has to be some degree of like control also, some degree of control also has to be there. So exhibiting that control is also important. And you see, when we talk about we as profs, as I told you, the intellectual ego is so bloated, and we forget that we are dealing with our colleagues, and we are the ones. I mean, we are. You see, we go back home, like in the late evening or evening, whatever the time is. So 5 days or 6 days in the week, they are more like a family. But then at the end of your service, you do not, why end of your service, even today, whatever it is, you do not, you cannot say that they are they are your friends.
Yeah.
Huh. So one thing is that you have to again see that we are not here to make bonds. Again, we as faculty members, we are here to build up teams. And if the team members, many a times when you're getting a project, let's say we can understand it better through examples. Suppose you're writing a project, okay? You're writing a project. The same person who was like quite vocal against you also would want to be a part of it, okay? Or if you have not taken him in your project, would keep like talking to people that, see, they're doing a project, they've excluded me, this, that, whatever, okay? But things are not that simple. They say so much and they speak so much, okay? So but then people want that that they be a part of it, but then they're not performing. So eventually you write the project, you get the funding, you get the funds from the funding agency, you defend it, you go to the field, you do the empirical study, you write the report, you do everything. But then there are four of them, okay? You're doing a consultancy, say for example, the consultancy of like is of like 70 lakhs, okay? Everybody is going to get their share of 30%, some percent, 32, 31%, let's say like that. But only the person with 31% is performing, the rest are not doing anything. But then when it comes to taking the share, the monetary share, they would take it. So then what do you do then you have to like exclude such team members. So again I say that we are not here to build we are not here to build friendships. We are here to actually build the department, build ourselves. And in the journey, in the process, whosoever can come along with you is good enough. And if they are not able to, it's fine. So that is very important. And each one of us has to also see that I cannot change. You see, for a new faculty, you see, we all had been new faculty at one point in time, and we have all like experienced some or the other kind of atrocities, okay? But from the same all, and small little things. So there's this the anxiety of not able to become prevails,
Yes, it is.
with such mindsets. So you can't change them. So the only thing is that, we as and this generation and the young faculty members who are coming, many of the young faculty members, we also see the same problem. Sometimes it's like young faculty members come, and then there's a big divide between the senior and the junior. Okay. So they move in their pockets. This is again a very bad practice. And then again, you need to communicate. You need to understand the history of the department, the growth of the department, the journey of the department. That dialogue has to be there. That seamless relationship has to be there, okay? And if you're detaching, so if you're just moving in your group, the department will never have that continuity. Every academic space will have a tradition, a continuity, a hand holding, a passing on of the baton, okay? And if the baton is not passed on, you have to be a part, you have to be in the game, you have to be there. Okay, so just so what happens, so the seniors, they are in silos, the juniors are in silos, the seniors, now there's a technical issue, okay? When we looked at our the ranking, because I was handling the ranking data until this June. So when we look at the ranking, when we look at the rankings data, it's like so it was like, how come IT Madras has got more than like 50 sorry some 500 plus CR, okay? In terms of its the R&D, like received amount. Okay, not the sanction, received amount. How come they're getting such, high value, to their, how they're bringing so much of money to the institute? And what us, so we are just, somewhere struggling to get, struggling around 100, 100 CR. So what is it now that we have reached to 200 in because we looked into the problem. So see that, the senior profs, they're already experienced. They've already, they've already licensed with, they have already licensed with the industry. They have industry connections. The juniors, they do not have. The young ones, it's not senior junior. Okay, all equal. Okay, but at the same time, then they do not have industry connection. So the seniors, the senior profs could be a big, a big, an asset for them, because they, through them, that they can, connect with the industry. For the new one to struggle and actually to come into that, into that, is very difficult at the initial stage. So that hand holding is important. So working in silos doesn't happen that way. Sometimes in the process, the young ones, or the new faculty, they might, also encounter the bloated ego of the seniors. Okay. Likewise, if you talk to the seniors, they say that the young ones, they have a more bloated ego. They do not interact with us. So a you see, we are here. The day you see, in India, in our country, many of us, by chance, it is a matter of, just falling, out of place from somewhere and getting into academics. Okay, this is also again a problem. But now that we know that we have been a part of this, we are into academics now. So it is my responsibility that how do I help the department grow? And if the department, not myself, grow, you see, the mom, you have to give a bigger target to yourself. Let the department grow, let the institute grow. And if the institute is growing, the department is growing, and the institute grows through many, there are many factors, many variables which make the institute grow. Okay. So if you focus that way, definitely you are working on your performance, and then you turn indifferent to what is happening around you, because those should not, impact you. And eventually, at the end of the day, you are here to contribute in the department, to the institute, and at the same time make some kind of an, carve a niche, carve an identity for yourself outside the institute. That is more important. And eventually, we are not here to make bonds, we are professionals. And at the end of the day, we have to go back to our homes, and we are there for our family. So I think the campus politics, the bloated ego, all of that has to be kept aside. And in the process, we all learn that way. And being polite, you see, it doesn't take, even if you do not like somebody's, way of talking or something, there are ways to handle it, rather than getting into their heads.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. We are not for that. Okay, so we have to we have to be little, you see. And there's so many people, you see, I see faculty members as actors under the spotlight.
Right.
So we are actors under the spotlight. So we are being watched in the department. We are being watched on the campus. We are being watched. We are under the spotlight in the classroom as well.
Right.
Our students are watching us. Our stakeholders, the other stakeholders are watching us. The PN is watching. The clerk is watching. The daily wager is watching. Everybody's watching. So how do you conduct yourself? So that is very important. And over and above, it's like, how do you navigate through your journey as an academic, as a researcher? And these are intertwined. So teaching and research, they are not, different from or separate from each other. So the more better teacher, the more the best researcher he would be. So that way, so it's important.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you once again. And we have been extremely privileged to have you in today's session. It has really been a very, very attractive and thought-provoking session.
I don't
And
know.
we have learned a lot.
So drab and dry. I thought, what am I going to do with this?
No, no, no.
Because this has got more to do with, when you talk about every day, what was that? The language of encouragement. So it's more like very, mm, unless you have, more in a workshop kind of a setting, where you're sharing, where you're taking, examples from the others, and then, discussing about it. So that turns out to be a workshop mode works well, rather than just saying that use this sentence and use that sentence. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And these little adjustments while using the language with the students, these little adjustments could do like huge.
Wonders, wonders, wonders.
So shall we wrap up the session, ma'am?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.